Saki inquires of the man whether it was truly that difficult to bring Leon back, even though Leon was only half injured. She questions how, despite Leon being a hero candidate, the man failed to complete the task even with the help of a mermaid. Because of his actions, Leon is now comfortably settled at the academy. The man apologizes profusely, but Saki, angered, kicks him, accusing him of not taking her, Saki Ryoko, seriously. She expresses disbelief that a mermaid could be taken down by a group of first-year students. However, upon considering the exceptional talent among this year's new students, she admits she wouldn't be surprised if they were capable of such a feat at that moment. The man reveals to Saki that the mermaid was defeated by just one cadet. Surprised, Saki demands clarification, asking if he means Leon defeated the mermaid alone. The man responds with a firm no. Frustrated by the suspense, Saki orders him to explain himself already. The man then reveals that the one who defeated the mermaid was this year's top student, Kangjiyama. Hearing this, Saki notes with interest that Kangjiyama is a special admission student. With a sly smile, she remarks that things are starting to get interesting. The scene then transitions to the training grounds. Instructor Lee is seen running alongside the students, urging them to count louder as they run, stating that he can't hear them. In unison, the students reply, "Yes, sir," and continue running behind him. Meanwhile, Chloe is sitting on a bench, waving at Kong with a smile. Seeing Chloe, our boy feels a pang of jealousy. Just then, Siegfried approaches Kong from behind and greets him warmly, commenting, "You are running really slow." He inquires if Kong is still recovering from the midterms, to which Kong replies, "No, sir." However, in his mind, Kong wonders what is happening and why the Sword Emperor himself is running alongside him. Kong reflects on Siegfried's remarkable identity, a descendant of the first Sword Saint and the right hand of Baylor Joaquin, the Sword Saint. Siegfried is Aaron Nibelung, the man destined to inherit the title of Sword Saint, a name as unique and significant as his title. Siegfried is a figure who will later become one of humanity's greatest forces. During the Second Demon War, he will also serve as Leon's swordsmanship master. Siegfried's importance increases dramatically in the latter half of the story, leaving Kong puzzled as to why such a pivotal character is here, running beside him. Our boy wishes Siegfried would go back to Leon, as the main story, which was gradually veering off track, is now completely falling apart. Come to think of it, Kong recalls that Leon never actually ended up receiving the Sword Saint title. It was a significant issue back then, but since Leon can't inherit the Sword Saint title anyway, Kong guesses it doesn't matter. Yet, despite this reasoning, Kong still feels uncomfortable about the situation. Siegfried then tells Kong that the foundation of any warrior lies in physical strength and endurance. No matter how outstanding one's talent may be, it is useless if the body cannot support it. Conditioning, he explains, is the bedrock that enables further growth. Siegfried warns our boy not to cut corners and urges him to keep up. Kong replies with a "yes, sir," but Siegfried retorts that he can't hear him. Kong shouts louder, affirming, "Yes, sir, I understand." Seeing Kang's determination, Siegfried smiles. Then, without warning, Siegfried dashes forward at incredible speed, challenging Kong to keep up with him. Kong is shocked by Siegfried's speed, but despite his best efforts, he still finds himself lagging behind. Frustrated, Kong wonders aloud if the Sword Emperor Siegfried is somehow aging backward. After that, Siegfried gathers the students and announces that, from now on, the use of personal weapons is strictly prohibited unless it is for field training. To the students' surprise, Siegfried then unveils a large assortment of weapons in front of them. He instructs the students to choose one of the weapons and master it, emphasizing that the weapon they pick will become their training focus. The students are shocked by this directive, and our boy notices that among the displayed weapons, there is even a sashimi knife. At that moment, one of the students raises his hand and tells the Sword Emperor that he has a question. Siegfried acknowledges him and asks what it is. The student expresses that, in the long term, it would be better to become proficient with the weapon passed down through their families, so why is its use being prohibited? Hearing this, Siegfried commends the student for asking a good question and explains his reasoning. He states that the basics are more important than anything else. Relying too much on high-grade or inherited weapons can lead students to neglect their training, and it becomes easy to mistake the weapon's power for their own strength. Hearing this explanation, the same student begins to respond, saying, "If that is the case, isn't it actually even more important to learn how to use those weapons and make up for any shortcomings?" Observing this, other students begin to think that this guy is asking all these questions just to get attention. Siegfried, however, calmly responds, telling the students that no matter how well-armed someone is, if their skills are lacking, their weapon will ultimately fail them. He adds, "A master never blames his equipment." Hearing this, Kong nods in agreement, thinking to himself that this is 100% true. Siegfried goes on to explain that once the students master the basics, they will naturally become comfortable with any weapon. Furthermore, he mentions that cadets who can skillfully handle ordinary weapons are more likely to receive higher scores in the class promotion evaluation at the end of the year. Hearing this, all the students become excited and rush to grab the weapons they prefer. Watching the scene, Kong thinks to himself that Siegfried really has a way with words, as the students are now completely inspired. Then Kong spots a sashimi knife in front of him. With a resigned sigh, he thinks, "I knew this would happen," as he reaches out and grabs the knife. Siegfried looks at our boy, and Kong, meeting his gaze, immediately suspects that Siegfried is up to something. His instincts prove correct when Siegfried addresses the students, announcing that today's task is to get accustomed to their chosen weapons. Following this, they will engage in 1-versus-1 sparring sessions between cadets. The students are surprised to hear that the training will take place without the use of the subspace. Some voice concerns, asking whether they might get hurt. Siegfried responds firmly, reminding them that they joined this academy to grow into warriors worthy of carrying on the legacy of the ancestral hero. He explains that true growth as a warrior comes through combat, even when facing the risk of defeat. However, Siegfried cautions that if students swing their swords at each other without proper thought, they can easily cause unnecessary injuries. To prevent this, he announces that he will personally demonstrate proper sparring techniques before the pairing begins. Hearing this, the students become visibly excited, thrilled at the opportunity to witness the legendary sword Emperor Siegfried's swordsmanship in action. At that moment, Instructor Lee steps in and reminds the students to keep quiet, emphasizing that there is no talking aloud during lessons. Meanwhile, Instructor Lee is lost in thought, reflecting that, as an instructor at the world's top academy, this moment might be the biggest and worst crisis he has ever faced. Even though it's just a demonstration, the idea of facing off against the Sword Emperor fills him with dread. Instructor Lee grimly concludes that this might truly be the end for him. Just as Lee is about to say something to Siegfried, Siegfried interrupts him and unexpectedly calls for Kong to step forward and be his sparring partner. Kong is completely stunned upon hearing this.